God bless everybody out there. I'm all tangled up in wires. You guys doing okay? And you guys remember back in a long time ago when it was a first for everything. First time record breaking, everything. Solar flares, earthquakes, policies, relationships of nations. From that point, everything went downhill pretty quick. That it did. And ever since then, people have been doing something. Right? Been very careful to make sure that you guys continue your role. Somebody had it right one time, a long time ago. And they proposed that the way things run in the earth, the way things operate, are orchestrated for the most part. I tend to believe that. I do. I'll give you guys an example. Now, I just want you guys to use this as an example. Please don't use this against anybody, okay? Please don't do that. But if you guys went outside, and if all of a sudden you could semi-communicate with bugs, right, and animals, how many of you would go outside and before you cut your grass, go negotiate with the ants to ask their permission to cut your own grass? How many would do that? Would you guys go outside and ask the permission of ants to cut grass? Would you guys do that? That would seem somewhat strange, right? It'd be odd. It'd really be odd. It'd be very odd. Because you're no doubt a superior species. You have dominion over the earth, right? And it's kind of like asking a dog that bites you its permission, right, to knock it out, or to study it, or to, if it continues to bite people, to ask its permission to put it to sleep. What about a hunter who needs to feed, a bunch of people? Do they go out in the wilderness, and before they, capture some prey for everybody, do they go and ask the prey's permission? Can they, end its life and eat it? Well, that's not the way the Lord set things up. He didn't set it up that way, did he? He didn't. Now, some people take it too far, but I want you guys to get the gist of it. I don't think that anybody would go outside before they walk on their own sidewalk, ask permission, right, from microbes. Can they negotiate to walk up and down the sidewalk? They never have to, right? Just like you never have to ask a bug's permission. And why is that? Because they have a mechanism to fulfill every loss they would ever have. But in this world we live in, just like you negotiate with ants is unlikely. Well, we have a situation where people honestly believe. Now, I don't want you guys to use this against anyone, but there are a lot of people who believe that something superior to humanity. They believe in something superior to humanity, not necessarily our Father, but, which is strange, right? But they believe this superior species came a long way to ask permission from us backwatered humans to experiment on us or something. I know it's a bit strange, right? When you think of it that way, it's kind of ruins something. It's not right somewhere, right? Because that would be like you going out to a bunch of bugs and negotiating with them. See, because if you're superior, you already know about the prey. You're going to know what to do. Why is it that we believe as humans, now not you guys necessarily, but as human beings, why is it that we are thrown off sometimes in the greatest ways? I mean, from a lot of people now. I don't think anybody in this day and age made that up. I don't. I think somebody back a long time ago made that up. And they did so because people never really thought of the entire situation. They never really looked at the entirety of the situation. They never did. Yet, you have a lot of people that believe in that. Well, if you guys understand what I'm talking about, and I'll say it again, why would a superior species who is all knowledgeable have to request permission to tamper with us? Something is wrong, isn't it? Something is very wrong. Wouldn't you say? Something is. Why would anybody make up a story like that? Why would anybody? And why would anybody perpetuate anything like that? Why would they do that? I believe, again, a long time ago, some people caught on to what was happening. I believe that. I believe to them it was devastating. I believe that too. And I believe this narrative was accepted by people without them really thinking it through. Right? Because it's fascinating. But, again, that would almost be like the federal government asking your permission to propose anything. They don't do that. See, when anything is superior, right? If anything is actually wise, if anything is smart, if you can navigate the stars, if you can do that, you're not dumb. You've overcome a lot of basics that many cannot see in the first place. You've overcome civilizations, right? If you can do that, you can navigate. And you come all the way to a planet to ask if you can study the gene pool of the local species. Because your race is dying or something like that. That makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It means, number one, they knew about us before they, left. They're fueling their ships and navigating, traversing distances and places, and they've seen a lot of things. Even Earth scientists understand some principles of animal life on this planet and human DNA and how they're interchangeable. But those other guys don't know it. Oh, but then they enter into a treaty with human beings. A treaty. A signed treaty. Something is very wrong. Now, I do believe in the biblical narrative. I do. There's only one entity arrogant enough to ever want to have assigned anything. You know who that is. Without disclosing, they have already disclosed exactly what you need to know. There's only one entity arrogant enough to ever make a move to have anything signed between a human being and it for its activities, there's only one entity arrogant enough to do that. Because this entity is a legalist. This entity loves to gloat. It loves to ascend itself higher than everybody else. It loves the art of debate. It is full of debate. Satan is. Lucifer, Beelzebub, Kesera, that figure. He would do something like that. Why? Because all throughout the Word of God, we should know him as an accuser. God spoke to us concerning him as the accuser, and an accuser always accuses someone of breaking some covenant, faltering in some promise. That's what an accuser is. Satan's a legalist, so of course he would want a document so he could later accuse somebody with something on. Of course he would. He's the only one arrogant enough to do that. The smartest of us would not go in the ocean and ask a goldfish. Suppose they're talking goldfish in the ocean, right? Or somehow we could halfway communicate with goldfish. And goldfish within goldfish was a cure to a disease that human beings had. You think one of us would go down to the goldfish king and negotiate? No. We'd go down there and take as many goldfish as necessary, study the ecosystem, make sure that there are going to be goldfish after that. We would take what we need to do our research on. Period. But we would also make sure that those goldfish never die out. Why? Because they can heal a disease. So we would ensure they never die out. See, when you know what you're doing, you take that route. When you really have a problem, you take that route. But suppose we wanted all the goldfish to self-destruct. Suppose we needed a way in to cause the goldfish because somebody had given the goldfish authority over the oceans. But the goldfish have no idea they have authority over the oceans. Only at that point would any of us human beings ever have to go in to negotiate with a goldfish. Do you guys understand? The goldfish have no idea they have true authority over the oceans, but we do. We understand. So we would make up any story necessary for them to grant us passage within their authority. That really mirrors something concerning human beings and the fallen angels. Yes, I'm sure it does. Don't you find it strange that Satan can't do anything directly to anybody? Don't you find that strange? He can't. Do you find that odd? Even in Revelation, why didn't he himself come forward to subdue the earth? Why is he sneaking around? Why are the fallen who are subservient to him, why are they sneaking around? Why? Strange, isn't it? Very strange. How you still have authority in this earth over everything. And the only thing that ever challenges your authority is your fellow man. You find that odd? I'm sure that's found in the Bible somewhere. Meaning, did God give Satan dominion over the earth? No. He gave you dominion over the earth. He anointed you to subdue it, to multiply in it. Didn't he? You carry blessings in it, not Satan. Satan was cast down to it, but it can't do anything but suggest things in your thoughts. That's all he does. So when you guys are walking around full of authority and power, here comes another element attempting to do their thing, right? Because according to the Word of God, I believe this narrative, they want access to you. They can't do anything in their form. They need access to you to carry out what they need to carry out. Maybe that's why the other narrative, undisclosed report, in fact, of the clock in a war, and, this discussion about the others is about to come up. How they have to get humanity ready to fight against invaders. Anybody ever hear that? They're going to get the whole of humanity prepared to fight against invaders. Not from Earth, from space. Does that sound familiar? Sounds like Revelation, doesn't it? When the whole world got together and went against the living God. That's what it sounds like. The final battle. Final battle. People are going to have to believe in something from up there. And they're going to muster together, the whole world is, to fight against it. And that is prophecy. That won't falter. Mankind's concepts are being rearranged. We know that. So I hope you guys see, hope you really see, that there is somebody, someone, some group has desperately been trying to sow a fanciful story to cover up the fallen. Desperately. Does it mean that everything is from Earth? No, of course not. The fallen angels are not from Earth. They're not. They're from out there. They're not from Earth. You're in this world, but not of this world. So then your very spirit is not from Earth. But your body is of Earth. Folks, I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in a few minutes. I wanted you guys to really see this before I go any further in this conversation. I'm trying to provoke your thoughts before we go somewhere, right? Because it will be somewhat interactive. But it's going to become very serious. Very serious. It's going to require some sober thinking to get through. I can tell you now, if a person is not sober, they won't make it through, because if they're sober, the only reason a person is going to be sober is because of Christ. Otherwise, they're going to go insane. I'll be back in a moment right here, Council of Time. Well, now, the legalist of the world has been at work for a long time, coming in different forms, and using different methods to get humanity to do what? Think carefully on this. What is the one thing has power to do? Anybody? The one thing he has power to do that messes people up big time. And God permits it. In fact, to understand, if you can see this, you'll know why God permits it. What is Satan allowed to do, and nobody can really stop him from doing it? Anybody know? Let me help you out. Satan cannot touch you or anybody else. He can't. Satan won't shut up. He won't. He's relentless in his pursuit to corrupt. Make sure you understand his point of corruption. His point of corruption is not what you and I think corruption is. His point of corruption is what the Lord says is holy. See, if the Lord says something is holy, Satan seeks to corrupt it in us. That's why Christ came to destroy the works of the devil in us by the blood of the Lamb, because Satan attempts to corrupt us through many different ideologies. Ultimately, he wants to accuse us. He wants you guilty. And he's using everything in his arsenal to make that happen. When it comes to physical injury, humanity are mainly the ones. Has to be a physical element that gets to you. Humanity has been largely responsible for that. Animals too. But for the most part, humanity. Still, Satan can't do anything. In the end times, all he does is deceive people. That's it. Even when he manifests, people get in awe about it. Remember that. Because he's up to some things. Right? He is. And if you could understand, if you could really see what he was up to, you could defeat him everywhere he is. Defeating such an entity begins where? Where do you start defeating Satan? Does anybody know? I mean, really defeating him. Anybody know? Where does it begin? You must first defeat Satan in your thoughts. Once you defeat Satan in your thoughts, you won't meditate upon his proposed ideas. You'll see them for what they are. Right? Kind of like negotiating with ants. If you can walk down your sidewalk or cut your grass, you're not going to do that. Right? You're not going to do that. Once you apply what's in your mind against holiness, everything changes. Everything. For far too long, humanity has been attempting to make faith to be something comfortable to them. So they have, in a small way, altered much to suit them. Once that's straightened out, well, everything changes. Everything changes. Everything is altered. And you effectively become immune to all of this drama that's in the world right now. Have you noticed in the world, even from the elections to war in the Middle East to contentions here in America, all across Europe, Ukraine, Russia, have you noticed the number one component of all of it? Anybody notice what that element is? Anybody? Let me ask you this. Why is it that everybody thinks they have the best idea? Now, think about this. Would it be right for me to walk around thinking that I have the best solution for your life? Think about that. Not me thinking the Lord has the best solution for your life, but me thinking I have the best solution for your life. Think about that. Would that be some sort of a friendly comment? So in essence, you guys agree that, I guess everybody would agree that all in all, people are fighting to be right over everybody else. Have you noticed that? In everything. In everything. Now, this is a big deal because it's everywhere. But do you also know this is biblical? The Lord warned that people would be right in their own minds. He did. He warned of that. He warned that it would grow. He did. He warned of it. Now, that's a huge prophecy, isn't it? The prophecy you never heard of. The prophecy it seems no one had power to stop. Why didn't we have power to stop it? But why didn't we have power to stop it? Because it got us to. Even right now, listen to me, right now, there's almost like a spirit resting in the minds of just about everybody, making each individual believe their idea of things is the best. Think of that. Think of that. It's like us here at COT, right? I try to stay away from solutions. And then a lot of people ask, well, what should I do? My number one piece of advice is you need a good relationship with Christ so that the Lord can tell you what to do. But the problem is, if you type in which side of the USA is best to live on, everybody has an answer, don't they? And they back up that answer. But why? Because of the way the world is set up. The world is set up to have you compete. To have you compete. Competition, right? To compete is an ideology that began in Greece. And people would compete to get their idea to be known among everybody, right? Of course, in Greece at that time, it wasn't about the money. It was about the prestige of coming up with something. And because they had competition, they believed that it bred innovation. Competition did. Now, when the Romans got a hold of this, it turned violent pretty quickly. It did. And so government had to grow extra, Rome had to grow extra branches and arms to govern the violence that always took place behind it. Thus, we live in a system right now, right, where the violence of our ideology is hidden. We praise the ideology not knowing the carnage it leaves in its trail. But this is the way we operate because humans believe that competition breeds innovation. Competition will squeeze out the best of all of us. That's what they believe. And take a look at the world. It really squeezed out the best of us, didn't it? It squeezed something out. Now, I don't know if it was the best of us, but it certainly did squeeze something out. No. Back to the discussion. Justification is another. Oh, consequently, this ideology of competition, this having something relevant to say, right? All of these things are almost bullet points of interactions with anybody who has ever talked to some of these other people. They are. But they are slowly causing us to wear ourselves down. That's why is there a solution in sight for the Ukraine-Russia war? Or is it going to just have to burn itself out? Think of that. Think of that. I'm back to our global conditions. So as you can see, the setup of this war that we're about to start seeing, unfortunately, as the celestial phenomena intensifies, so will the activities of the earth. They'll go hand in hand. They'll increase. And it'll somewhat be like, say you saw a leak in your kitchen, right? You saw a little tiny drip. I'm going to explain to you how something looks to me, just how something looks. So suppose you see a small drip in your kitchen, and so you go in there, right? And you get your tape or something like that, and you start taping up that little leak. And you stand back and you say, okay, I fixed it, but then that leak has gotten a little bigger. Anybody ever do that? You try to stop one leak, and the leak gets bigger. Well, you go through this process of patching everything up only to find out the water's found its way through and more water dripping out. So you didn't save anything. Then when you take off all the patches, it gets twice as worse. So now you're stuck. You can't take off all those, patches you stuck on there. So you give it another try, more desperate try. You put some more patches on there, and then all of a sudden the steel breaks. Water goes everywhere. Now, you started with a manageable drip, and it ended up being a flood in your kitchen. That's how this problem is. No matter what's done to the situation, any tampering of the situation is going to make it worse. What man does is they're not offering solutions. They're trying to position themselves to be one above the other on the way out. Right? That's what they're doing. We're still stuck in the mindset of who's the most powerful in the world. Well, with these escalations, there comes a massive change in infrastructure. See, they can't. There's no way they can hide what you all have been exposed to lately. They can't hide the solar events. They can't hide cold and hot spots that we go through as a solar system. They can't hide. They certainly can't hide the sky illuminating, right? Of course, people will desensitize that, so just remember that. They can't hide the multitude of encounters people are having. Of course, many people do make things up. I want you guys to know that. They falsify things. They do. Some people get so angry at not being believed over a truthful thing that they will go to extremes to make you believe using any method necessary. In this conundrum we find ourselves in, this mess, right? You're going to slowly find that people are, just like the Bible says, they're giving way to fables again. They are. These fables are going to be a great distraction and a tool from one person to another. The sound doctrine of Christ, right? Kind of like you going out negotiating with ants. That's being lost. That's not being pursued. It's another spirit dominating. And it's that very spirit you're contending with right now. You have to watch your rage levels. Folks, you have to really watch being compromised. You really do. Because I'm going to tell you this other part. Unfortunately, I can't stay too long tonight, guys. Well, there's an issue with me, so I can't stay too long. But hear me out on this. I talked about the aggression factor of people a while ago. How many of you are finding it difficult to hold back your own aggression? You can be honest, too. If you are in the flesh, you're going to contend with this problem. You're going to deal with this issue. You are. You're going to deal with this issue. If you're in the flesh, you're going to deal with this issue. Many, having dealt with this issue before, are starting to realize that whatever's augmenting, whatever's enhancing this aggression within people is quite strong. Sometimes you can't sense it. It's rising within everybody. It's going to be something you're going to have to be able to conquer. So what do you do when your aggression factor rises? You have to realize who you are and who you're not. You have to realize who you are at that moment before the aggression gets hold of you. Because see, once you act on your aggression, you'll commit to activities you then have to defend. The point is to stop you from acting on your aggression so that you don't have to defend anything. To get you out of the business of defending yourselves. Many of you have your time tied up in defending yourselves. You have no time for anything else. So you have to realize who you are. Now, who you are is founded in who your Father is. It's not founded in the earth. Your identity is nothing of your flesh. That means it has nothing to do with what you did in the earth. It has everything to do with how God made you to be. Okay, folks. So with this aggression factor, you're going to find it's going to a brand new level. Especially with the passage of, what should I call it? Now, I can't tell you guys exactly what this is, but so let's call it the streak. A streak is coming, right? A streak that will capture the eyes of kids as well as adults. A streak in the sky is coming. And for some reason, every time there's some celestial phenomena like this, people are encouraged to see something fascinating and new. Right? They are. What they won't understand is every time, have you guys noticed, every time something happens in the celestial realm above your heads, and it captures people's attention, and a story is made of that thing, you got to ask yourself, why that story? Why that story? When the streak comes by, it will grip people. I hope you guys can master your aggression factor. It's going to get worse and worse. And everything will be turned into, well, it'll be turned against you. Remember, everything you do, you'll eventually stand accused. Never forget your Father wants you faultless before people and Him. Why does He want you like that? So that you can maneuver in the earth without being impeded by these unnecessary acts of, judgment upon your life. If you don't act on your own violence or rage, these things that you feel coming on stronger every single day, if you don't act on them, right, you can decompress properly. You really can. But it's just I feel irritable. Lots of people do. Lots of people. Now, you guys have these sensations. Let me ask you something. Do they come out in your communication to other people? Like, what do the serpents represent in the parable of the prodigal son? What do the servants represent in the parable of the prodigal son? The servants that were with him all the time? The prodigal son is a story. It's a twofold story. Most people focus on the prodigal son, the one who went away, sinned, and came back and was restored, right? There's another side to the prodigal sons that is most often missed, and it causes jealousy. debating, arguments, results in brokenness. Those people who have been faithful to the Lord, right? They become invisible. Because they're invisible, right? When somebody makes over the person who's coming back, right? And everybody else is told, hey, get ready, your brother's coming back. So you guys labor for your brother because he's coming back. If you're not careful, you miss the whole point. Many of you have been secured in Christ for a long time. You see people welcome in some of the new. You see people marvel over some of the mindsets of new people, and it causes an internal jealousy. And if you're not careful, you act on that. It's a very bad result. That jealousy rises within a person because they feel like they've been unacknowledged all this time. Wrong. You've been secured all this time. Part of the problem is something that happened a long time ago. We're so used to a reward system and a pat on the back that if we don't get it, that's when we begin to self-destruct. That's why we say the Lord knew what he was doing. You're not a mistake. All right, now, guys, you know the circumstances by that article with the equator. Correct? Have you guys looked at that tiny little article on the homepage? That's something that we'll really expand upon here in COT. I hope you guys don't run, because many people are going to have already they're going to miscommunicate the information, right? Sometimes it's best to wait for a solid foundation before you start, doing anything, because you'll miss the whole point. We can't afford to have theories go forward. Because I'll say it again, people will die because of this. Lots of people will die. They will die. Nobody can do anything about that. We don't have thrusters on the planet, right? We don't have that. So, this issue is certainly going to alter a great many things. Somebody asked me this, and they said, what do you do in the meantime? You continue to live your life. And I'll share this to you once again. Men can have their predictions, instruments can have readings, calculations can be made. It does not mean that's what's going to happen. You guys see that? This nuclear front is very real. But do you guys know they can fire nuclear weapons at any time they want to? I know that's hard for people to find, to verify. Nuclear weapons will not fire at any time. They won't do it. Hope you know that. Somebody says, when's the streak coming in the sky? It's on its way. You're already within that season. In fact, you're in a season of quite a few things. You guys are about to see that southern anomaly again. That South Pole anomaly, I believe people are calling it. You're about to see it again. We discussed that a few months ago. We discussed that same thing, and I told you guys I can't revisit that anymore. I can't do that anymore. But you're about to see it again. A couple more times. There are many more solar flares that we have to go through. Our sky is going to be lit up like a rainbow. Somebody has some rainbow or crayons and threw them out in the sky. I think what's happening with the earth is exactly what's in prophecy. This is something missed in prophecy. Follow me on this, guys. The earth is going to be thrown out of its orbit. No stability. So there's no calculated point of correction that anybody can look at. None. None. It is imperative. That's why it's so important. All this data collected is from all throughout the earth, right? I mean, it's fresh, brand new, up-to-date data. It's not some theoretical topic. We have a problem, a big problem, and it's going to cost lives. No one anticipated this. No one. People have tracked movements before, right? Collective movements. You guys do understand that universities submit all their data upon these findings because there are individuals within those universities that are already signed up with key research groups, big research groups. For example, these research groups have this type of power. If they said, okay, shut down every Walmart in the USA and Europe, do you not know that every Walmart in the USA and Europe would be shut down instantly? And everybody else will scramble to come up with a cover story. So these groups, they dictate quite a few things because they have the good information. They don't deal in hypotheticals. It's not what they do. They have to be absolutely true. Even the penalty of having a job like that is almost death itself. They can't afford to make mistakes. So you're talking about a very refined set of standards here. That's what we're working with. Listen, I'm privileged to be on the inside of this, having been part of a few things early in my career. So I am within that loop. I'm deeply within that loop. And I'm telling you now, that data is fresh. And as of June, they never thought it would ever hit this point. Never. Never. So I hope you guys will begin to understand. So when it starts happening, what time is it, folks? Okay. That means this weekend. Later on this weekend. Now but we'll cover that tomorrow, not today. There are going to be some folks that we're going to just have to do what the Lord called us to do, guys. Because I'm not one to sit on the sidelines and not say where I will face all embarrassment and take all the heat. It helps a couple people out. I know that people are worried, and they shouldn't be, that people are making wrong moves. I do know that. Wrong moves. Don't make a move based off fear. That's what you can't do. You can't do. There are too many skittish people within the body of Christ. You can't make moves based off fear. Let me ask you something. Why didn't God ever give us dates? Because we're skittish. Do you know what happens when we have dates? Anybody, do you realize what happens? It's the same thing that happens with an alarm. Do you not know that people have an opportunity to study for a test? But because the date of the test is not here, they continue to say, I got time. I got time. Why is it that people find themselves trying to cram in everything at the last minute? Then when they take the test and they don't perform like they wanted to, what do they say? I should have spent more time. And sure enough, another test comes and they do not spend extra time. Do you see a problem with that? This is our nature. And there are some who have overcome this. They really have. Sherry and morning. How many of you have issues? Let's just say you're highly inquisitive about other life forms. How many? That's going to be based upon your interest. All right, folks. Yes, that's about the equator. All right. volcanoes now polluting the planet? Well, they're not polluting the planet. Volcanoes we go through this natural process where, well, think of it this way. Have you guys ever gotten a marker on your countertop or something like that and you found nothing would take it off? Nothing would take it off. And you're distraught because you have a big ugly mark on your wall or on your countertop until you find a specialty item. Now, the specialty item does not smell good. It may not look good, but it gets the job done. Volcanoes are the same thing. We may not like them. They may not smell too good. They may not have great effects. They're getting a job done. They are necessary. They're necessary. Without volcanism, you guys haven't seen what we have actually done. Hopefully you guys see that. Because the Lord knows what he's doing. But what we have to do is this. The earth its patterns are being disrupted. Its orbit is being disrupted. So are you being disrupted? So are you. Somebody said, how do we research the streak? You can't, but you will see it. There are going to be a lot of cases. Don't think I'm sitting here bragging or pat myself on the back or anything like that. There are going to be a lot of cases when I say something you're not going to be able to find. The only thing you're going to find is that it absolutely takes place. But you'll find those subjects on it on the internet. You won't. Why? Because I'm the source. That's why. We will be the source here at COT. That's why. So you're not going to find it anywhere else. Then after we release things, right, should that thing come to pass, people will begin to dovetail off of it. It'll take on a life all on its own. It'll morph, mutate, and everything else. The original knowledge will be lost. It will turn into something totally different. It will. That's why with the KD files, I ask, don't go out there and distribute the KD files in any form or fashion. That's why. Not yet. Not yet. Because I know what people will do. You know what people will do. People are interested in utilizing everything they can to promote themselves sometimes. To be the first at releasing this, that, and the other. Why? Because people have to make a living. They do. They say they want to be first one. That's natural. Unfortunately, when you do that, you stop the credibility of those who are not trying to be first, but are attempting to help somebody else out. Right? Okay, folks, as I said, I can't stay too long. Right? Some of you guys may notice something is off. Don't worry, it'll pass. Something is a bit off. Things happen. We recover and keep going. Right? But this aggression, folks, is going to a brand new level. I personally believe that's going to begin tomorrow, the brand new level of aggression. Right? Don't take part in that, please. Don't take part in that. Learn to acknowledge it, yes. And don't try to handle it yourself. Well, let your Father know. You really want to see the Lord work in your life. Start disclosing things like that to your Father in heaven. And say, Lord, this aggression is back. I don't have power to deal with this, but you do. And I depend upon you. Now you're praying. Okay, folks. Maybe midnight hour is possible. It is highly possible. Highly possible. Highly possible. There's a lot to do for me here in COT. So we have to get a move on. Well, the back end of things is almost tied up, so that's a blessing. It always works before the cosmetic things. You have to work out all the back end details. In this case, total overhaul of database structures and tables and triggers and you name it, stored procedures, you name it. Everything has been altered, changed, swapped, and switched. But I don't mind doing that. I don't. I need that. We need to have it efficient. I'm also building an actual device application that's encapsulated in something they're trying to stop using because it's incompatible with AI. So I've taken that incompatibility and used it as a wall surrounding this software. So it provides a natural VPN for software on your phone device. It is so funny because nothing can access the software. Nothing. You know what happens when nothing can access the software on your phone? Your phone goes nuts for a little bit. It does. Because it makes up lies almost instantly. It's kind of like, well, I'm not going to accuse anybody, but we all know that embellishment happens these days. Folks, otherwise keeps updating this week already twice. Well, you live in the AI Central, right? You guys be watchful over the aggression. Don't let these external issues cause you to have a heightened sense of aggression. Something is following you and it desires you. You've come too far to be lost. Much too far. Much too far. Somebody says one streak. Yes, one streak. Only one. Robin says rest a little. Yes. I have no choice. I've been putting in the overtime, guys. I really have. The overtime. Somebody has the flu. What a good thing to have at this point. Folks. Somebody says, I'm going to see you guys next time, right here at the Council of Time, potentially tonight at the midnight hour. Right? Especially if you have an eruption in the next couple of hours. But we'll see. I'm not chasing the ambulance on these stories. They're about to be pretty numerous. They're pretty numerous. But the one thing you want to do is to be in control of yourselves. Big time, be in control of yourselves. Please don't let the aggression get to you, because if it does, you're going to be another point of authorization of darkness to be utilized in this earth. Need I remind you, our Father is coming back to destroy all darkness. All of it. With that, I'll say, God bless you. I'll see you next time right here at the Council of Time. God bless.